So welcome to the first of our E3 conference slash preview event discussions, where we're going to have a whole bunch of these based on all the different E3 and Summer Games Fest conferences that are going on. Matt's joining me for a couple. We'll have a whole bunch of other people from the Player 2 team and beyond coming on board over the course of the next few weeks. And this is our first one. We're going to discuss Koch Media, a whole bunch of stuff that they showed you that's gradually made its way out through Jeff Keighley's... what do we call it? Kickoff Live. They've got their own press conference. Matt Hewson's aboard for this one. And Matt, you got a lot to share. So what did you see? What tickled you?
Yes.
That's a horrible phrase.
So we were pretty lucky. They offered us a chance to watch their whole conference before everyone else. I watched that last week and saw the big news that they've got a new gaming label that they've started. So previously, Koch or Koch or however you want to say it, have acted like, with a whole bunch of different developers all under them. But now they've brought them all under one kind of banner, and it's called Prime Matter. So that's the new kind of double A, bordering on triple A at times, publisher that's under the Koch brand.
It was interesting. There's certainly a few titles, as you were kind of describing things for us, and as we've gradually seen things in the days and weeks since. Like there's a few that really kind of scream AAA, and then there's others that kind of on that double A side of the fence. It seems like they are shooting for one direction, but it's still a build.
I think they're a very open kind of mob. They're happy to just take developers on their talent. It looks like very, very focused on new IP at this present time, which is very cool. There's obviously big names under Deep Silver and things, and I think Deep Silver's still going to operate separately. But there's some big names like Payday's coming under the label, and a few older games like...
3? Is it officially 3? Even during the Kickoff Live thing, they didn't really slap a number next to it. Like, is it Payday 3? Or...
Yeah, it's Payday 3. They just said Payday 3. We saw an interview with the developer, and it basically said, "Hey, we're working on Payday 3," and that was it.
Okay.
So yeah, that's all that was.
So
you don't get much there.
Which I guess is kind of the equivalent of another big name that kind of popped out of the whole thing, which is Painkiller. Painkiller's coming back, but again, it seems like it's key art and title. Yeah. That's about it.
That was it for there. They just basically said they're bringing back the Painkiller name, which is a funny one to bring back. Its first game was quite good, but after that they kind of dropped in quality pretty quickly. So it'll be interesting to see who they get to take control of that.
And I guess the IP, that doesn't necessarily hold a lot of cachet, but I guess they must be feeling pretty confident about what is going on here and the fact that they can rebuild it and that it's got enough weight that maybe that holds it in good stead.
Yeah, it was one of those. It was one of the very few game series that kind of carried on that old school first-person shooter feel that now Doom Eternal's out, and Doom kind of repopularized that feeling of game, because when the original Painkiller came out, it was very much like Medal of Honor and Call of Duty and these kind of military shooters that were more, I guess, precise and less chaotic, whereas Painkiller was definitely that, balls to the wall, super fast PC FPS that was kind of out of favor at the time. So it found a nice audience there, but yeah, it never really...
But maybe a good time for it to come back then,
the world.
That sort of model is starting to come back into vogue with kind of the direction that even like your Doom Eternals have gone, where they are more...
Yeah, there's Doom Eternal and there's Shadow Warrior and Necromunda, the latest.
Necromunda Hive Gun.
Yeah. So...
But there was a whole bunch
there's
of
a space for it, obviously.
And they all... Look, there was a number of them that seemed pretty cool. Were there any particular highlights that you... personally?
So there was probably 3 or 4. We saw 13 games all up. Some of them were just like Painkiller and Payday, where we just saw a logo essentially, and that was kind of it. But then there was some new games that they've done really well, and none of these have leaked. Before I got to this point, so it was a good effort. But so the first one they showed us that really struck me was Crossfire Legion. So it is within the Crossfire franchise, which is a really big FPS franchise in Asia, and it's just starting to come to the West with Crossfire X, with Remedy doing a single player component. Yep, and the original devs are doing the multiplayer. I've done the beta of the multiplayer. It's quite, it's a good bit of Call of Duty fun. It's very well put together, so it should find
An audience, good.
a crowd. But Crossfire Legion is being built by uh, ex Ensemble, ex Westwood developers.
An extra
So
relic, I think, as you
RTS,
described for me as well.
ex Relic as well. Yeah, so like three big RTS studios, and these people have come together to create a new RTS that looked, for all intents and purposes, like a new Command and Conquer to me, and that made me smile.
You're longing for Command and Conquer, so like,
Yeah. So it looked like that old school RTS. Build up your army, protect your base. Rock, scissors, paper with air, water, and land. That sort of thing. Tank beat planes, but planes beat infantry, and infantry beat tanks. That sort of thing.
yeah, I know. So
It's like a basic early RTS sort of thing, but it looked really cool. It looked really, really polished. I think that's coming early next year. It should be pretty. It looked pretty close to done, actually. I think they were talking about a open beta some point later in the year.
yeah, okay, that'd be cool.
To test the
Some bit of
multiplayer
feedback.
servers, because RTS game. What are they without a multiplayer suite?
Yeah, 100%. Yeah, doing it on your own only carries you so far, I guess, especially in the modern setting.
Yeah.
One game that you mentioned.
I just hope they have.
Oh, go on.
Sorry.
No, go on.
I was just saying, I hope they have cheesy full motion video as well. Because
Oh,
it wouldn't be a
yeah.
Command and Conquer copy without some cheesy full motion video. Tim Curry going space. We need that.
Yeah, 100%. One game that you mentioned that I wasn't even aware of. I wasn't aware of the franchise even. There was a sequel, King's Bounty 2. You mentioned it was something that was there, and I mean, obviously we'll talk about it in a bit of detail.
Yes.
But now, like, even between that announcement, the event that you saw, and then the actual reveal of everything during kickoff, I started seeing King's Bounty 2 everywhere. So, like, clearly it wasn't as tight a kept secret as some of the others. It's got an August 24th release date.
Yeah, it's pretty close, and they've been pushing the PR for that one pretty hard, because obviously it's not too far away. It's essentially, so King's Bounty came out in the early 90s, like 1990 or 91.
Yeah, right.
And it was essentially the precursor to the Heroes of Might and Magic series. So if you've ever played Heroes of Might and Magic,
Heroes is great.
which is kind of a combination of turn-based, it's like a turn-based RPG, but with, Empire.
Yeah, it's kind
It's
of that
about
Empire sort of feel about it.
building the empire, and you've got combat in it, but it's more about controlling the whole land instead of just your RPG character. And it's all turn based and all that. And there hasn't been a good one for a while, but it's held in quite high regard.
Yeah, good.
And so King's Bounty 2 is coming out, and it's, I guess, the next evolution in that sort of gameplay. It looks stunning. I've got to say they've done a really good job in the look of the game. It'll all come down to the balance. This sort of game needs to be balanced. It's very easy to tip into too difficult or too easy. And a lot of the games that have tried to copy the Heroes of Might and Magic have failed at the balance side of things. So probably the most recent one I could think of is Age of Wonders Planetfall. That's probably the closest. Yeah, that might be a bit more familiar to people. But it also suffered from that balance problem. Sometimes it was too hard, sometimes it was too easy. It's just finding that perfect point is the hard part. And if they can get that right, there's a lot of people that are going to be very happy, I think. And it'll probably bring new people into it, because it is a very satisfying sort of genre to get it right.
Yeah. Well, I mean, when you mentioned Heroes of Might and Magic, like, I mean, and anyone who kind of follows any of the Player 2 stuff knows that I'm not a big PC guy, but that was a PC franchise, Heroes of Might and Magic, that I got right into when I was young.
Number 3 is probably still the best, and it's fantastic.
Yeah.
Just fantastic.
And so when you kind of drew that parallel, I thought, okay, this is something that I should stand up and pay attention to, and then I've started seeing it pop up everywhere since. So, but its release date is close, so keep an eye out.
Yeah, end of August. So, and I'm hoping to get a preview done for the site. They're looking at trying to send us out some preview code, so hopefully I'll get
Nice.
some hands on with that.
Any others float your boat?
Yes. So there was quite a few. There was just going through the list here. I'm looking at the notes. So Gungrave Gore, which apparently is a South Korean
What a name.
kind of franchise.
Yeah, actually, I
this is a
did
game-
digging afterwards, and yeah, Gungrave is actually a thing that existed beforehand, and it'd been released on, I'm going to say it was like the PS2 or something like that, if I remember. I'm like, okay.
Something like that. Yeah.
Never heard of it.
So this is apparent. We only saw a trendy cinematic, but it struck me as a Bayonetta type deal. I would be very surprised if it's not a Bayonetta type game when it gets released. There was Dolmen, which is kind of this almost Souls-like game. Excuse me. Set in it's set in the future, kind of sci-fi Lovecraft, I guess.
Yeah, you described it as a sci-fi RPG to us, and actually said it reminded you a bit of a Dead Space style RPG at first, anyway.
Yeah, it looks like Dead Space. So if you've got the image of Dead Space in your mind, you'll get a fairly good idea of what it looks like. Actually, it shares a few parallels with the look of Returnal too. Now that I've played that, so yeah, it's kind of got that look, but it's definitely more of a Souls type combat from what we saw. Can't say obviously how well that feels, and quite often with people that copy the Souls formula, they don't get it right.
Again, it's that balancing thing you described
It's
before.
that balance thing, yeah. But I mean, it looked good, and it's from a Brazilian studio. It's their first game, called Massive Work. I mean, good luck to them. It looks really good. So I hope a lot of these are all tiny little studios. So I'm really hoping they do well under this Prime Matter label. So
Yeah, especially if you're saying they're kind of looking, the overall messaging seems to be we're kind of shooting for, AA.5 to AAA sort of titles here. Like,
yeah,
if they're all targeting that and they're all very small studios, I guess it kind of, like, slipping my PlayStation bias hat on it, instantly makes me think of like Kena Bridge of Spirits and kind of that team they're really, like, they're small, but they're shooting for, AAA sort of standard.
Yeah, that's it. They might be a smaller scope game, but with the polish of a AAA sort of thing,
Yeah.
And that's what a lot of these struck me as. There was two that really impressed me. So Echoes of the End, that's being developed by a new Icelandic studio. It's built around Icelandic mythology.
Yep.
And it looked stunning. Like, it looked really good, and it struck me as a kind of Hellblade style adventure.
You've got my interest.
We saw a little bit of it, and it's you're taking control of the heroine of the story. She's been kind of taken under the wing by this old wise fellow, and they're kind of running into these mythological creatures because the world's there's something happening with the world. It was very vague, obviously not wanting to give the story. But they're saying they drew it all from Icelandic lore and Icelandic myth. So it should be something we haven't seen before.
Running on Unreal 5, you said as well.
Unreal 5, yes. So of course it looks good, but yeah, it's a while away. It's probably 2023, I would say. I think they did mention that 2023 was their hope, but yeah, what they've got so far is something to keep an eye on for sure.
Okay, cool. One that you described to me that kind of caught my interest was a game called The Chant. In terms of the pedigree it had,
The Chant.
You were talking about, like, there was some ex-Visceral, Rockstar, EA developers working on it, and you kind of described it as being a cross of Silent Hill and Alan Wake, which I'm not a big Silent Hill guy, but I'm a big Alan Wake guy.
Yeah, it sort of had that feel. It's a another horror, third-person horror, but it seemed more like a thriller, which is what made me think of Alan Wake.
Okay.
Alan Wake wasn't necessarily a horror game as such. No, but it was certainly a tense game, and I think that's what this is going for. And almost like the Medium did earlier this year, it wasn't really horror. It was kind of more a thriller with psychological, and horror elements to it. This looks similar to that. A nice steady pace to it. It's not frantic at all. Light seems to play an important part. So your torch and things like that, another Alan Wake comparison.
Yep.
So yeah, it actually uh, it could be great, but also it's coming into a very crowded horror market at present. It seems every day I'm getting another 3 emails
Oh
about the
yeah.
next survival horror game. So Resident Evil's come back with a force, and with it, it's brought every
Every indie developer in the
competitor
world
under the
with them.
sun. Yeah, yeah. So it looked good. Great style to it. If they can kind of walk that Alan Wake style, I think they'll set themselves apart enough to find their own crowd and not just competing with Resident Evil or whatever the latest one is.
Well, not to mention the fact that like the Alan Wake fans are just they're so riled up at the thought of anything Alan Wakey. Like if those parallels start to get drawn and we get to this sort of preview phase and people start to get their hands on it, then that could
Yeah.
bode very well. Just it's a marketing side, but could bode very well for the game in that respect because those fans are just they're craving more Alan Wake. Control proved that.
Yeah, yeah. Oh, absolutely. And I'm one of them.
Yeah, so
I'd
am
kill
I.
for a new Alan Wake game. I think it's fantastic. I even read the really terrible novelization of it.
Oh really?
It was so bad. They got bargain basement author #1 to do that one. So
Ouch.
yeah, yeah. Sometimes you get lucky and they get a good author like Eric Nyland or someone like that to do it. He did Halo and they were fantastic. But yeah, no, this bloke, I don't think he really knew the end of word.
First and last attempt.
So yeah, I don't think he'd be getting many gigs.
Anything else that really spoke to you from the event?
The last one was Encased.
Yeah, okay.
It was. I'm pretty sure that's the one I was thinking of. I'm just looking through my screenshots here to make sure I got the right one.
There's one more that I kind of had on my mind.
Scars
that you
of Above,
described.
was it?
That's the one that really. So you
Scars
described
Above,
that to us as
yeah.
being like a sci-fi Tomb Raider game.
Yes, that was definitely the one. That was almost the last game they showed us. And yeah, it very much felt like a modern Tomb Raider game, just set in a science fiction setting. So someone's landed on this planet. They're finding of it, and once again, I guess there's a bit of Returnal in there. I hadn't played Returnal when I saw this, but now I have. So there's a bit of that, studying alien entomology
Yeah.
and incorporating that in your arsenal. But it seemed definitely more about the exploration than platforming puzzles and things like that, as opposed to the straight up action that Returnal really is for a lot of the time.
Yeah, Returnal doesn't really relent.
No, it's pretty full on. This seems more measured. That's why it made me think of Tomb Raider. You've got the quiet moments, you've got puzzles, you've got you study these artifacts and learn things from them, and then you can incorporate them into your gear.
And then, so I guess then, as a result, kind of when the combat segments do arrive, it's more. I'm not going to go totally as far as say scripted and totally linear, but it's more scripted than say a Returnal, which is okay. The kitchen sink's coming at you, and you determine how you want to deal with it.
Yeah, pretty much. That's just randomization with Returnal, whereas this seems it'd be very appropriately placed enemies to approach in a certain manner. It looked like different effects had different weapon effects affected enemies differently. So there's a bit of that strategy. It's basic sort of stuff, but this enemy's more susceptible to fire. This enemy's sort of more susceptible to cold. That sort of gamey thing. But it's all been built into this lore and this exploration. So it looked really good. It's also quite a ways out. I believe the end of 2022 was their hope.
But
I mean,
I'm okay with it being that soon.
Yeah.
I guess, and we'll probably end up having this conversation plenty of times over the course of this E3 period, is I think there's a lot of these games that might be shooting for 2022, but there's also a lot of 2021 games that are already going to have to shift into 2022. And I think some of the small, again, this AA to, I don't know, AA and a half, as I dubbed it before, sort of those titles might just all budge over to ensure they don't get squashed by the Starfields and the like. As they
I
all
think
start
so. And I
crowding
think, I think this new Prime Matter is going to be great for these smaller devs, because it seems they're really going to go all out and give them the support of a major like Koch Media is big. It's huge.
There's a lot of money there.
It's not as well known as something like EA or things like that, but it's up there in terms of money because it's not only media, it's a whole bunch of other things too that come under the Koch. So they've got a huge suite of business interests that they can draw on. So and it looks like they're approaching this in the right way, which is really good to see. They're supporting smaller devs and bringing, I guess, new devs into the light that they may not get to AAA, but that's what they're helping them aim at. So hopefully some of these do become AAA developers thanks to this support from Prime Matter.
On the business side for Koch/Prime Matter, like if even one or two of the dozen that we discussed there make it, then on the business side, that's a lot of profit for them. So
absolutely. And these days,
if they look good,
with things like Game Pass too, they can, utilize Game Pass or, Humble Bundles or things like that to also build names. So I think there's more options these days for these kind of mid-tier and even littler indie developers that are kind of with their eyes to the sky to get noticed and to get their gear out there and maybe strike that deal so they get the money to make their dream project.
Yeah, sounds awesome. Did you have a particular as we wrap up? Do you have a particular favorite of all the things that they've shown? I assume it's one of the ones we've discussed.
Yeah. It'll either be the Crossfire Legion, just simply to state my long thirst for Command and Conquer, because it's been so long. Or Scars Above was probably the best one that I saw because it gave me a bit more. A lot of the others are very early and
conceptual still.
They're obviously rough edges or you just saw a cinematic or things like that, but I got to see a fair bit of what Scars Above would look like, and I'm pretty interested in how it turns out.
Good to hear. Well, I guess it's a long season of games, as we've been dubbing it on the Player 2 website, because unlike everyone else, we're not in summer right now. So it's going to be a very long season of games with E3 and Jeff Keighley's business, and who knows, we might be seeing a little bit more of some of these. I know there's still... Well, from the way you've kind of described things, there's a lot of footage that you've seen that didn't crop up in Kickoff Live. So there's the Koch Media Presentation.
They're doing their own show tomorrow.
Yeah, so...
They're doing... The Koch Media show will be tomorrow, and I imagine they'll show what I saw.
Yeah. So hopefully people get to kind of see some of that stuff and enjoy some of that stuff as well. And, stay tuned because we'll be talking about a hell of a lot more of this stuff. Matt, thanks for coming aboard to talk all about the Koch Media presentation and everything you saw.
No problems. Happy to be here.
Everyone who's watching and listening, please make sure to go visit the website, player2.net.au, because we've got the Season of Games hub that we've mentioned. There's a whole bunch of predictions. There's various other pieces are going to be popping up. There'll be opinion pieces. There's going to be plenty of videos like this one. There's heaps of stuff there from E3 and this crazy period of games. So make sure to check all that out. Anything else you want to add, Matt?
No, not really. Thanks for joining us on the crazy tour, and as we descend into madness, covering it for you.
For audio and video consumers, where can they catch up with you specifically and what you're up to?
Well, if you want my personal Twitter, it's Huso81, but otherwise Player2AU for everything I do, which is video, podcasts, articles.
Lots of written stuff.
Men of many talents, yeah. So it's all there. Just, probably 90% of it is under me at the moment. So...
Paul James Games for myself, and stay tuned because there's going to be a lot more of these. Like I said at the beginning, we'll have a host of different people coming through to discuss what they think about some of the various showcases, so stay tuned for that, and thanks for watching.